Oh man, I'm so lonely, man. I'm so lonely. I just wish I had a girlfriend, a wife, and then somehow my loneliness would just disappear, man, please. I just want people that I just really can't identify with, just so I could be together with them and my feelings of loneliness would just disappear, man. I hate it, I hate it. Idiots! I'm gonna tell you this right now. Someone else, please, back once again with another video. What I'm gonna tell you is this. I talk about semen retention, I talk about celibacy. We're gonna try this again. Somebody else, please, back once again with yet another video. I'm gonna talk about something very, very integral, something very, very important and incredibly necessary in this day and age, guys. If you are a man living in the modern world, naturally in modern societies like New York City, maybe the United States just to be a bit more broad, Western Europe, Australia, Canada, where there's a prevalence of male loneliness, right? And the number is only growing. I'm gonna tell you this, the more you sit in that loneliness, the more you rest in that feeling, the more you are controlled and malleable and can be manipulated by outside forces. Talking about marketing, we're talking about people in general, we're talking about habits, horrible habits. Like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna get into it right now, right? I'm gonna tell you why a lonely man is a controlled animal. I sort of grew up in this modern world, right? I'm from New York. I grew up in Brooklyn. We're still in Brooklyn now, albeit very, very changed, super gentrified, and of course, the broadcasting of views, ways, and habits and values that lead to this loneliness. I had a lot of friends for the most part, and I thought that everything was hunky-dory. I thought I was living my life. I thought I was on the fast track to success, right? And then I started realizing things. I got into religion. I grew up Roman Catholic. I learned a very, very small, tepid, minuscule, diminutive amount of the truth that is religion, right, through Sunday school and whatnot. And I decided to delve a little deeper. And the more I learned metaphysical truths, the more I started to somehow, not even willingly, but unconsciously, get separated from my friends and peers. What the heck happened? We dress the same. We speak the same. We're the same color for the most part. Why is it that we are separating? Why is there a chasm between us? Then I started, of course, continuously exploring, living my life, understanding more, developing in this three-dimensional space, right, with a lot of metaphysical edicts and truths. And that separation began, it continued. I learned a lot about this world. I learned, right, that if you are a man, right, if you are an individual male, and you learn about yourself, you get close to this semblance of the objective truth, you are going to be lonely. It is as simple as that. Now, I'm talking about lonely in a literal sense, as in that you will not have many, many friends. You're not going to have confidants. Like, they say you tripped on some bar in the middle of the street somewhere. Why do they have these? I don't know. And you want to sort of complain and vent to someone. That's not going to exist for you as a man, because you're different. You have decided to embark on that journey of exploring yourself. And not only that, maybe you're not consciously exploring yourself, but you are not fond of mixing with the nonsense that this new modern contemporary world pushes in order to subjugate and dominate the individuals in its midst. The moment you encompass that thought, which is a vibration, right? If you want to get metaphysical, the moment you encompass this vibration, you are going to now start that separation, that disparity with others. You may have long-term, decades-long friends, right? You may have went with them to college, you know what I mean? Graduated from high school with them. Maybe even told them about your first crush. The moment you envelop that vibration on a minuscule level, the separation begins, the chasm begins. A personal anecdote coming up, right? I lost a lot of friends the moment, like I said, a lot of close friends too, the moment I started to embark on this journey. Not even consciously, like I said before, like searching for some sort of self-developmental truths, but I just sort of learned what I did not want to tolerate in my space, what I did not want to accept. And then it began, the separation, the disparity, the chasm, right? The crevice. I'm gonna tell you now, let's get back into it, why a lonely man is a controllable animal. Because if you, not only are literally lonely, which is fine, if you don't have friends, that is cool, that is okay, you are going to live. It is only when you encompass the emotion of loneliness, which is a vibration. I'm trying to break this down very, very deeply because it's all it's about. You can't just talk about vague concepts like emotion and not try to explain it even further to try to explain the objective results that come about from harboring these emotions. I'm gonna go deep. Pause. When you start to identify with the emotion of loneliness, then you are broadcasting to the world that you are needy. You desire something. You desire a change from the state, because with that harboring of loneliness comes those feelings of malaise, dissatisfaction, anger even. Men do this all the time, especially in this modern world. I've seen countless men walk up and down these streets in relationships that are definitely not conducive to true development. A lot of us get into relationships, interpersonal and romantic relationships, in order to quell this feeling of loneliness. Also, there's societal pressure too. If you are a man as well, without a girlfriend, you're in a certain age group, and you're walking around alone, it's like you're a loser. What are you even contributing to society? Even though we had heroes of the past, right? Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, who have contributed loads to this place, and they have never even so much as kissed a woman, right? That's something else. But because we live in not only in a web of the pressure of societal pressures, right, of societal traditions, we are caught up in this perpetual need to prove ourselves, to try to go through the rite of passages in order to prove ourselves to a society that only followed the rules because their forefathers followed the rules, instead of actually looking after themselves and try to aim after true development. The lonely man, right, gets himself into interpersonal and romantic relationships that are not conducive to his self-growth and are actually toxic and destructive to his development. That is a form of control. Also, we have a man that is lonely. We're in another situation, right, where he walks around. He started to embark on that journey of self-discovery, of course, causing a chasm, a disparity between him and his mates. And then the bar seems more appealing, because he misses that social interaction, that need, that want, that inherent need in all us human beings to connect with an individual, with other individuals. He goes to the bar and partakes in very toxic habits like drinking. Then, of course, it doesn't help that this modern world has started to begin on this journey, this crusade of the legalization of marijuana, leading to the destruction and the atrophy of our brains. They start to get into marijuana as well. They take on all these habits in order to try to match the frequency of the world, which is seemingly not lonely. Then we have men that partake in that. We have men that also go into bad gang activity habits. Groups of individuals, they get more influenced and malleable by peer pressure, because they have no one else, right? They feel lonely, and they know maybe they're not lonely at that moment, that they're about to accept the effects of peer pressure, but they know that because they will refuse this invitation to the gang activity, or whatever the activity may be, which is negative, they will start to go down that path of loneliness. This even stretches on to work. Individuals work in offices, right, and do things that they don't want to do in order, of course, they adhere to their bosses. They listen to their bosses every single whim, right? Their managers every single whim, because when they have bought into the world to some degree, which means that if they decide to go on that path of solitary self-development, then they will lose it all. Right? What am I talking about buying into the world? I'm talking about people have girlfriends, they have families, right? They have kids, dogs even, because somehow, in this modern world, dogs are children now. We don't understand. They buy into the world to some degree, like by doing those things. And then if they lose their job, that primary source of income, then they might as well get excommunicated from a country, because that's how tied they are to their ways of life. People are very, very afraid. Essentially, people are very, very afraid of being lonely. Granted, there are very, very positive alternatives to loneliness, right? As a man, if you are a lonely guy, you go see, there's an MMA group, right? And it's a whole bunch of men, just practicing, just fighting in general, right? You'll learn something in the process of making friends as well. There are very, very positive activities that one could partake in, group social activities that one can partake in, that is not detrimental to the body, detrimental to the spirit, and then detrimental to the mind, that will solve that problem of loneliness. Another thing that will solve loneliness ultimately is semen retention. We talk about celibacy a lot on this channel. I am a main proponent and harbor and vessel of the energy cultivated through semen retention. And I feel great. I don't feel lonely. Granted, I do have a couple friends. I keep them at arm's length. I'm not afraid of cutting off the unnecessary limbs whenever they do not serve their purpose, or not even that, because I don't see people as a utilitarian function. I just see it as, if you are on the other side and very, very negative about the things that I do, then you go get kicked to the curb. That's it. Men, gentlemen, my lads, my friends, do not be afraid to harbor the literal state of being lonely in this modern world. It's gonna suck at first. I know it, I've been there. I remember the days, 2012, I'll never forget when I started on that self-discovery, right? I started continuing the self-discovery of just life in general, philosophies, metaphysical philosophies, Plato's allegory of the cave, Dante Alighieri's allegory of the rising through the realms, right? From hell, Inferno, Purgatory, and Empyrean. I explored all of this. I started to do that. I lost a lot of friends for no reason. Right? I was just simply, hey, this is interesting. What if the world is maybe, I don't know, some sort of allegorical cage where we're meant to ascend through various levels of the mind, through the little practices and conditions that we enact upon ourselves in order to get to some more powerful point in the future. I lost friends automatically. What? You're not talking about Mary Kate and Ashley. What do I get out of here, right? This is a journey I've undertaken on my own. I've done it myself. It is fine. Guys, you are going to live. My only thing that I want to warn you about when it comes to loneliness is that you cannot let the feeling of loneliness creep into your brain and encapsulate it and remove the seat of the individual, of individuality. What does that mean? That means that you are now identifying with loneliness and you're unconsciously seeking ways, people, habits, and places that are not conducive to your self-growth, to your self-development. A lot of us men, we have a lot of empirical data that's out there. Men, we are offing ourselves by the dozen, by the cartload, right? We are on drugs. A lot of us are on a lot of drugs to deal with these feelings of loneliness. We are not completing college due to a lack of motivation. We are not staying in jobs. We're not even getting hired in jobs. I got fired the other day. I got fired on the 8th of November. Yeah, we know this, right? That's due to a lot of other things, but we're going to talk about that. I mean, if you want to know so much about that, just visit the other videos on my channel. I talk about it in depth. But I'm telling you this, guys, the loneliness that a lot of us men feel, right, is not necessarily due to a fault of our own. That's right. I do like to, of course, listen, I don't play the blame game. I'm not a play the victim like mentality. I do take charge for my actions. If I trip on something, I don't blame the structure of that object. I just blame my lack of observation of that object, right? I take accountability. Us men, we need to take accountability, but we also have to understand that a lot of this loneliness that is perpetuated within us, us men especially, is due to the systems in this modern contemporary societies of the United States, of Canada, of Australia, of Western Europe, namely UK, France, Germany, all of them places. How is that? The world has become incredibly, we're about to go into something else now, right? But we're still following this line. The world has become incredibly gynocentric. Of course, there was once upon a time a lack of feminine civil rights, female civil rights. Females were not allowed to vote. They were not allowed to take credit for their own creations and machinations and inventions. They were not allowed to walk alone on the street. A whole bunch of things. I understand that, and I do understand the heavy push in these societies in order to regulate and balance the sexes. However, what I don't appreciate, which has happened now en masse, in excess, is a complete put down of masculinity in all forms because of the justification, as a justification of the crimes that were done by a subset, small group of very, very evil, malevolent men, right, that push these ways upon other men that were not initiated in their ways and punished women. And now women are now punishing us. Maybe it's due to that clandestine group again, right? Although much more modern and much more contemporary. That's a topic for another discussion. This is the world that we live in. We live in a very, very gynocentric world. If you are a man trying to broadcast your way in the aforementioned societies, right? The UK, US, Australia, Canada. If you try to push your ways of masculinity, right? Maybe just doing a couple push-ups without a shirt in the middle of a plaza or something. Or you try to maybe listen. I don't think Isaac Newton was such a scientist. I think his science edicts were based off of his devout understanding of religion. If you try to explain that to a woman, you will be destroyed. You will probably lose your job, get lambasted on social media, you will get embarrassed. We are not living in a very, very balanced world, gentlemen and lads. We're living in mainly a gynocentric world. And because of this push of this new feminist, very, very gynocentric world, a lot of us men that are joining, not necessarily trying to join the wave of self-development, but understanding this nonsense for what it is, unfairness and unbalance and perversion of the ways that we're supposed to be. A lot of us men that understand this are getting cast out of their societies, their groups. They are then getting put into pits of loneliness, and then they start to focus that loneliness and identify with it and focus it inwards and blame themselves for a world that was manufactured for our destruction. This video went on very, very long, but gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this before I go. Do not allow yourself to be a controlled animal. We are men, we are gentlemen, we can be very, very powerful beings through restraint, through discipline, through exercise, through focus. We can become the new paragons of this age. We can do things that are incredibly powerful and beneficial to us all, men and women. And dogs and cats, if you guys so care about them too. Do not allow yourselves to identify with the emotions of loneliness. It is fine to be lonely. It is fine to be solitary. A lot of us are just prone to doing that anyway from our natures. But do not identify with the feeling, because you will be prone to a whole bunch of external foreign influences that are detrimental to the soul, spirit, and body and mind. And with that being said, that is all I have to say about loneliness today, guys. If you guys enjoy that kind of content, like, comment, subscribe, share the video with some peers. Listen, guys, listen. Do not ever let this place get you down. The world, trust me, is not on your side. As a man discovering himself and understanding the truth about this world and how they sort of put down men that that are beginning that journey of self-development, that are beginning that understanding about the nonsense of this place that is mainly gynocentric and female-centered. The moment you understand this, it's a vibration that you have now encompassed in your vessel, in your aura. The world is going to turn against you. You're going to perhaps be in a feeling of loneliness. It's going to happen. It has happened to me. It will happen to you, especially if you probably watch this video. It will happen to a whole bunch of other people that begin that journey. I'm going to tell you this, because the entire world, it's a reference to 1984, right? Big fan, George Orwell. Very excellent book. This is going to be a literary classic for years to come. What happened in this book, right, is that there was a main character, Winston, we know him, and he challenged the party with his very being. The party was a system. It was a system of policies, politics that were counter to the natural operation and order of human beings. The system, the party, that's what it was called, was only created for subjugation and domination of the individuals. Sort of like communism, right? Winston said to O'Brien, which was a sole proponent of the party, listen, 2 + 2 will always equal 4. It will never equal 5. He got shocked to death because of his staunch rebellion against the system. Gentlemen, maybe we're not going to get to that point, at least not yet, right? Of course, there are a lot of various examples of men losing their jobs the moment they sort of stand up against this the female-centric, gynocentric system that perpetuates unfairness, right? Of course, on the side of males. Gentlemen, I want you guys to get in your power, practice discipline, practice focus, get in the goddamn gym and exercise. Do not identify with the emotion of loneliness. Rather, if you are physically, literally lonely, it is fine. It is a state, and you will find like-minded individuals if you continue on this path of self-discovery. Don't ever let this place get you down, and stay radiant. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Woo!